So we are recording right now. So again, welcome to the criminal justice session of the recruitment event today. My name is Jennifer Flannery. I oversee the AmeriCorps program at the Arizona Supreme Court. As Emily mentioned, AmeriCorps is a national service program. So there are thousands and thousands of organizations, agencies, departments, cities, communities, nonprofits, universities that recruit AmeriCorps members and are part of a government-funded program that AmeriCorps is. So given the nature of the agencies that are part of AmeriCorps will dictate what the experience is of an AmeriCorps member in that program. So for the two programs that are represented here today, our focus is in criminal justice, reentry, community supervision, and then legal services is the third one. But if you were to look at United Mesa Way, their focus in their community and their services is very different. So you can be very specified in your experience and have a broad experience in one topic area, or you could be an AmeriCorps member, say in one of our criminal justice programs, and then go over and serve in the STEM program at U of A, and so on and so on. So you really have a lot of opportunity to get a wide variety of experiences or a very focused experience through AmeriCorps. And if you bear with me, I'm gonna bring up my slides here. And Raven, can you see that? Yep, okay, all right. So I represent the Arizona Supreme Court program, and our program is a statewide program. We are, we partner with several different host sites around the state, 7 to be exact, out of the 15 counties, to place our AmeriCorps members into service. Specifically, we partner with mostly adult probation departments and the superior court systems at each of these counties. So we are the state regulatory for many, many different facets that happen in services that happen down at the superior court county level. And so we already have existing partnerships. And when this AmeriCorps opportunity came about, adult probation was one of our main focuses. So our members serve in Apache, Gila, Maricopa, Navajo, Pima, Pinal, Yavapai, and Yuma counties. Some are rural, some are more populated, and the opportunities in each are vary because of those two things. I'm gonna just say a caveat right now. Because of COVID, some of our sites are actually closed to non-essential staff, and that includes volunteers, our AmeriCorps members, interns, etc. So our host sites are not placing members into service, basically until probably September of this coming program year, which is when we start programming again. We will start recruiting for a fall start in September, and I'll go into that a little bit more into detail. But not to confuse you too much, each of our counties are kind of at different phases, different stages of what their COVID strategies are. So some are open and some are closed. And I'll talk a little bit about that right now, our current status, but for majority of the part, we probably won't be recruiting until the fall of next year, fall of this year, excuse me. Hi, Sharon.
Hi, Jennifer.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Good. I had to say hi to Sharon. She's a colleague of mine. She does a lot of trainings for our members. So I'm glad that you're here today joining us.
We're just trying to stay on top of it and see who I should send your way.
Yes, well, I appreciate it. I know you helped promote us, promote the event on LinkedIn. I saw that. All right, so in our program specifically, we have 2 positions that are generally open year-round for application. One is the probation assistant position, and again, that's going to be at our adult probation departments around the state in those counties that I mentioned before. And then we have a more specified position. It's called the youth mentor position, and those are going to be in the smaller counties, and I'll speak to that more specifically once we get to that position description. But I'll explain what both of those entail as we go on. I'm not monitoring the chat or anything, but if anybody does have any questions that come up, feel free to raise your hand or just chime in. It's a small group, so we can be a little informal with that. So if you do have any questions, feel free to interrupt. All right, so the probation assistant position. So our probation assistant position, we generally will recruit year round, but we only will onboard folks 3 times a year. So we have a fall cohort, a winter cohort, and a summer cohort. Our positions usually last about 4 months. So we do go along a traditional, say for instance, like academic schedule, just because most of our applicants are generally students that are looking for experiences or internships that have to do with criminal justice, or someone who is looking for experience to get into the job market. So that's just traditionally how we've built it. Our probation assistance positions, once you've been interviewed and vetted and sorry, it's been a long day. My brain is starting to fail me. Once you've been offered a position, you go through, trainings, safety trainings, orientation and whatnot, but essentially you're assigned to a adult probation unit in the county that you would be serving at. And I did this morning. We'll back up a little bit and explain about what probation is. Probation happens when somebody breaks a law. And depending on the severity of that law and the infraction associated with that law, they may or may not have the choice to go into to prison or go on community supervision, which is probation. Oftentimes, if you agree to go into probation, you can stay in your, keep your current housing if you have it, keep your job. But you have to, you're mandated to terms and conditions. You may not be able to drink. You may not be able to drive. There are all these rules and regulations that you have to follow and mandate and follow for 3 to 5 years generally is the average time somebody's on probation. So when somebody is assigned to probation, they're assigned a probation officer, and that probation officer will then assess their risks. So do you not have housing? Do you not have employment? Do you not have childcare, education? Maybe you have some addiction issues, mental health issues. They will assess that person, see where they're at, see where their risk levels are for all of those metrics, and then develop a case plan for that person that basically maps out a plan for that person who throughout their probation period. So it's basically how they're going to get through probation. So depending on the risks, there are evidence-based practices and treatments and resources that somebody is provided to through probation. And so members will actually help with providing information about access to those resources, whether that be for housing, employment, getting transportation, education, the list is endless. So members will assist in those kinds of tasks. And then those are considered self-sufficiency skills, soft skills, maybe workforce development skills might be in there, assisting with writing a resume, maybe developing a budget. The gamut of services might be wide. But most of the time you'll be aiding the probation officer in navigating all of those resources and maybe calling the probationers to remind them that they have a counseling appointment or they need to be in the office. So it's more indirect services that you're going to be providing the probationers. So along with the case management duties, you'll be able to observe the evidence-based practices that the officers are trained in. You'll be able to learn a little bit more about how those work, motivational interviewing techniques. You'll have access to some of those trainings. Now, you won't be certified as an officer, but you'll have access to a lot of different things that'll build up your professional development portfolio. So if you are looking to go into probation, you know, or any job for that matter, the skills and the experience that you have is really going to be something that you can add to your resume. I'm sorry if you hear my dog in the background. He's probably barking at somebody down the street, right? Yes. So along with that, members are also part of the court navigation piece. And that's kind of just a broad term for what happens in probation is probationers are required to go in front of a judge every so often to update the judge and the court in their progress through probation, whether those be successes, failures, whatnot. And so members will be able to assist with the preparation of the court proceedings, maybe helping put together case summaries and all the probationers that are due for court that week, and then possibly sitting in on pre-court sessions that happen where everyone's involved in that case. So the judges, the lawyers, the advocates, the clinicians, the physicians, possibly the probation officers, we'll be talking about that person's case, their progress, their failures, their successes, and updating each other about that, and then determining, you know, what's the next step for that probationer. So members will be able to observe that, and then also observe the court proceedings that are after that, which is quite an interesting experience if you've never actually been to probation court. I highly suggest that it's an experience that everybody has. It's just very eye-opening. I mentioned the referral services. We also work with some reentry population. Raven's program works exclusively with population that's incarcerated, about to go back into the community. We work with folks who have been incarcerated that are finished with their incarceration terms, but are released into probation. So they may have another offense that they have to serve time out in probation. So they come to us, and they may have been incarcerated for a number of years. So we help that specific subset of population with access to getting an ID or healthcare, you know, getting signed back up for access, getting transportation. They may not be familiar with how the internet works, or applying for jobs is online now. So assisting them in that way is a very specialized unit. So members would also be involved in that, serving that population as well. And then linkages might also occur with helping probationers get access to educational resources, such as like GED prep courses and technical trainings. And in some of our counties, we have specialized labs that work with that type of education. They're called Learn Labs, and that would be specific to those counties. So I am going to pause there and see if anybody has any questions. I don't see any hands raised. If you want, you can take yourself off mute. Okay, moving right along. So our second position is the youth mentor position. And as I mentioned before, our probation assistant position is a majority of the time is going to be at our larger adult probation departments. In Arizona and across the country, depending on the size of the community, will dictate whether or not a county or a jurisdiction has a separate adult population program for probation versus a juvenile probation department. In Maricopa, there are two separate entities, two separate departments. There are two separate agencies. They do some cross-pollination with kids who are going to be aging out and still into probation, and they go into adult, but really the two programs do not cross in any services. In the smaller, and so those type of scenario where the agencies are separated, you're going to find those in Maricopa, Pima, Pinal, Yuma. But in the smaller communities like Navajo, Apache, Gila, those agencies are actually, because of the populations are so small, those have joint agencies. So they're just called probation departments, and they house both caseloads for juvenile and for adult. So you may have some officers that carry both caseloads, but a majority of the time in those counties, most of the reasons is that there's a very low amount of juvenile offenders in those smaller communities. And another trend that's been happening is that because juvenile offenses are going down, less kids need to be detained to figure out what the course of action is to do for them as far as punishment goes. The detention centers in these smaller communities are going unused, but yet there's still a need for them for time to time. You know, that one time a juvenile offends and needs to be housed for one night or 2 nights, they still need to remain open. So what they've done is they've turned these juvenile detention centers into youth or community centers for the youth in that community in general. So it's open to the public, but it still has a very small section of that community center that will house a juvenile if they need to be housed for detention purposes. But basically the center has turned into a free programmed-based center for children. So and open for mostly kids from like 12 to 24 in some of these communities. There will be assistance with homework, tutoring sessions, educational resources. There'll be programming like music and creative arts, culinary arts, volunteer programs. Some of the programs have photography and assist with, community programs like dog training programs for the local shelter. The list is on and on. So it's a really cool atmosphere for the kids in the communities who, in smaller communities, you may not have a lot to do. So this is a really safe place for kids to go and hang out. There's even video games and pool tables, and it's the ultimate hangout basically. So our youth mentor position is working in that environment. So we wish that folks would be able to come in and provide programming in one of these areas: music, creative arts, media development, whatever your specialty is. If that's something that kids would be interested in, that's what we would build the program around. They do assist with workforce development skills like creating resumes, applying for jobs. In some instances, that might be a requirement of some of that more at-risk youth that are maybe there for detention purposes, but it's a general service that they provide to everybody else. Again, they assist with linking to educational resources like homework assistant, college prep courses, technical trainings, if kids are maybe going into more of a vocational route for their career. And then members in this position also assist with public relations between the community and the center. So, building a more active role in the community. All right, so our positions there, we've talked a lot about benefits. I've mentioned a few, Emily mentioned a few. Raven's gonna have a whole nother slew of benefits that her program offers. But, in a nutshell, our program offers, you know, a professional development, like practical work experience that you can add to your resume. If you do have, if you're still in college and you need an internship requirement, oftentimes our experience can match those internship requirements and you can do both concurrently. So we just have to do that on an individual basis to make sure that, you know, everything is approved by your institution. You serve your local community through national service. You're assisting those who need the service and access to the resources. And then you're assisting the local organizations in delivery of those services to aid their clients. So you're basically helping yourself and also helping the community and the folks that are served by your organization. Now, specifically, our program, I think I mentioned already, is designed around a 4-month term. We have a fall term, winter term, and summer term. You can either serve 300 hours during those 4 months or 450 hours during those 4 months. So it averages out to about 20 or 30 hours a week. So at the beginning of your term, you do have to commit to either one of those, and it depends on what fits into your schedule and what is available at the county. Now, this is going to be the length of the term and the hours per week and the stipends are all going to be different depending on what program you're looking at. But the Ed Awards are going to be the more constant number you'll see. So for us, the stipend is given to you usually on an every 2-week basis during those 4 months you're in service with us. And it's going to range anywhere from $1,800 to $3,000 per term, divvied out equally over 8 pay periods. It is taxable, so you will get a W-2 at the end of it. It is dependent on which one you sign up for. I was going to say something else, but now I forgot. It went out my brain. So upon completion of of your service term, you will be eligible for an education award, as mentioned before. And for the 2 options that we have, the 300-hour or the 450, it can range anywhere from $1,300 to $1,600 for that ed award. The stipend comes from our program, and you can spend it on anything you want while you're receiving it. So you can spend it on pizza, laundry, you know, shoes, diapers, whatever. You can save it. It can also go towards school, but the Ed Award has very strict regulations that are instituted by AmeriCorps National, and it specifically can only go to tuition, outstanding loans, or if you're old enough, can be transferred to a dependent. Okay. So as I mentioned, some of our larger counties, and counties where we're partnered with adult probation, you're gonna find the probation assistant position. And generally those are located in Apache, Maricopa, Pima, Pinal, Yavapai, and Yuma. We generally would prefer that an applicant live in those counties or plan to move to those counties with you know, housing and transportation already secured. Unfortunately, our program is not granted enough funds to accommodate any kind of like moving, relocation costs, or transportation costs. So there is that stipulation. It's not a requirement, but it's something that we can talk about throughout the process of application. Our youth mentor positions are generally located in Apache, Gila, and Navajo counties, and those are going to be the smaller communities. But for Apache, that's St. John's. Gila, that's in Payson, so it's not too bad. And then Navajo, it's in Holbrook, Arizona. And as I stated, right now, we are not accepting any applications for the summer term because we only have a limited amount of positions and we have applicants already in line for vetting for those positions. So we will be starting recruitment for fall positions in hopefully all of those counties. You know, we're knocking on wood that restrictions will be and safety protocols will still be in place that we can place members into position come fall of 2021, which would be September this year. So when that recruitment process starts, we will be actually notifying everybody. We will be collecting emails and contact information from everybody who attends the events today. And we'll email you guys when our applications are open. But before then, you can actually go onto this myamericorps.gov site and create your online resume, which is basically like a profile, an account. And for any AmeriCorps position in the country, this is the national portal that you would use to apply for any of those positions. So again, it's your online resume. So I would fill it out as most completely as you can. Making sure that you put all of your work experience, all of your volunteer experience, your references are complete. Your motivational statement is robust and you've checked for grammar. This is the first thing that we see when you apply. It is your resume. And if you can update it. So if you create it now, but you don't apply until like say June, make sure you update it between now and then. So those would be the next steps for my program specifically. Ravens has a little bit of a different timeline and she'll speak to that. All right, and then this is just a slide of my contact information. I think Celia said, once we get the recordings all set, I believe that we're gonna have the slide deck available for you guys. So it'll have all of our information on there so you can reach us later if you have any questions. And I believe Celia in the earlier session today sent out our contact information to all the attendees, so you can use that as reference as well. But be rest assured that this information we presented today will be available later on down the road. All right. Now, Raven, I have not been keeping track of time just because it's the two of us, but I'll stop right there to see if anybody has any questions before we move on to you. We've got Caitlin, Liliani, and Katie. Did you guys have any questions specifically for me?
No, thank you.
You're welcome, you're welcome. All right, Raven, let me get your presentation up.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I know it's a little bit late in the evening, so I'm glad that you took the time to join us to learn about opportunities within the criminal justice system with AmeriCorps. So Jennifer covered her program, which has a focus on individuals that are in jail. And I'm going to cover our program, which is prisons. So I am the AmeriCorps Program Manager for the Arizona Department of Corrections, Rehabilitation, and Reentry. And so we are responsible for overseeing the state prison system. So I'm going to talk about our program, what we offer, and then we also have one of our AmeriCorps alumni that's going to join us, and she's going to talk a little bit about her experience serving as a member with the Department of Corrections. So let's go ahead and get started. So with the Arizona Department of Corrections, we have a mission right now. And so we are all working to meet the goals and be successful in our mission. And our current mission, which we've been working on for about 2 years, is to aid in reducing recidivism by 25% in 10 years by providing inmates with knowledge and resources needed to be successful upon release. And so what that means is the governor, along with our department director, we're put out this mission. And so we are all working towards reducing recidivism. And what that means is that we want to be very intentional about assisting individuals that are preparing to re-enter their community and being as successful as they can be by equipping them with knowledge and resources to hopefully decrease the chances of them returning back into the prison system. So that's what we are all working towards. And so our AmeriCorps members come in and they help us with working towards this goal. Jennifer. So the question I get a lot is, what are AmeriCorps members doing at prison? What are they doing with the Department of Corrections? So we are one of just a handful of programs that have ever attempted to have an AmeriCorps program in the prison system throughout the United States. And so with our program, our members come in and they serve in teams. And this may be a team of members, so it may be 2, 3, 4 members. We just had a group, it was actually 7 at one location, and then another location there were 2. But the group, it looks different depending on how many people we have serving in a location. But our members serve either in a team of members, or they're gonna come in and they're gonna serve alongside our staff. Our members are never allowed to come into our facilities and serve by themselves. Or teach by themselves. So it's always a team effort. And what they do is they teach various life skills to low to medium custody adults. We don't do any juvenile corrections. I know sometimes I get that question, what about juvenile corrections? We don't do that side of it. Our members are working strictly with our adult population. And they're working with either inmates or offenders. So these individuals are within 6 months of being released, or when we say offenders, we're referring to individuals that may have been released from prison on parole, and they have violated their parole. 90% of the time, it has to do with having a dirty UA, meaning that they dropped a dirty urine. And so instead of sending them directly back to prison, it may be that their parole officer says, okay, we need to look at another option for you. And they may come into a reentry center, which is a location where they come and they go through various programs. They come in and do counseling, therapy, and they are in that a reentry center from anywhere from a few days up to 90 days, depending on the individual and what their needs are. Again, that's another one of our efforts to try to deter people from going straight back to prison, and instead helping them to get the services that they need, with hopes that they can live in the community without needing to return it to custody. So our members are not serving in any high level yards, any maximum security yards. Our members never even see those yards. Instead, they are working with low to medium custody individuals that are preparing to be released. In our reentry centers, and hopefully soon, as Jennifer mentioned, there's some pause right now because of COVID. But in the near future, we are looking at also doing this in prisons. Our members come in and they teach what's called psychoeducation classes. And so we have a set curriculum that they come in and they learn, and then they either co-facilitate with their team, or they may teach the class on their own with a staff member there. It just really depends on the situation, but they teach several different topics. One of the biggest topics is release and reintegration. And so we have curriculum that they're teaching on how to reintegrate back into the community. And so they may teach about criminal and addictive thinking and how we have to work on our thinking patterns so that we don't end up back in difficult situations, building a foundation for their futures, setting housing and employment goals. They also work on what we call SMART goals and looking at what they need to be successful in the community, and then working on different parts of that to make sure that they are accomplishing those goals. And our hope is that when they are being released, they have had these conversations and they started to think about what life looks like upon release versus just being released and not really having time to think about these things. Our members also do money management classes. So they teach inmates and offenders on how to manage their money, how to live on a budget, how to pay off debt. They learn about credit bureaus. What is that about? They learn about how to save money for the future, because again, that's a critical piece of being in the community. You may have been incarcerated for many, many years, and you may not have had access to money or had to manage money. So as you all probably know, if you don't manage money well, it creates stress, and then we can end up back in again, difficult situations. They may also teach a drug and alcohol education class or a parenting class. And then we also do socialization activities. So in the reentry centers, it may be anything from doing a sports program to maybe doing a game hour. It's all about socialization and how we interact with each other, because coming from a culture of prison back into the community can be a difficult shift. And so we work on how to socialize, how to interact, and how to communicate what we need. Again, we are also looking to start doing this in the prisons a little bit more. So this would actually be happening in both the reentry centers and the prisons. And then outside of psychoeducation classes, our members also have the ability to come in and just serve in our education department. And so the Arizona Department of Corrections is a certified high school. And so a lot of inmates do attend classes, and we also have another requirement, which is called functional literacy. And what that means is that by law, we cannot early release anybody from prison that does not have at least an 8th grade education level, unless they've been identified as having a learning disability. But if they have not, then we have to work to get them to an 8th grade education level prior to their release. So what that means is our members come in and they do a whole host of things. They may be tutoring, they may be working on a specific topic for that day. So in the education department, they're doing core subjects, math, social studies, science. And it may be that today we're going to learn about how to use question marks and commas. So they may be running a group all on how to do question marks and commas. That's all, and again, an effort to get them to that 8th grade education level. In addition, depending on which prison our members are at and the yard that they're on, they may also be helping with GED, because many of our inmates are released and they have their GED, and they need a little bit of help as they're going through that process with tutoring and focusing on certain topics. Or they may be helping them to get to their high school diploma, because again, we're a certified high school. And then it may be that they get their GED and their high school diploma, and they are now pursuing college classes. We do have some universities that come into our prisons, and there are several different yards where inmates are pursuing their higher education. So the members may talk with them about, what does it look like to go to college? What's the difference between an associate's degree and a bachelor's degree? What do I have to do to get to a master's degree? What does financial aid look like? So the members may have conversations with them about that as well. Jennifer. So in addition to teaching psychosocial classes or working in the education department, we are really working to start connecting inmates to resources. So with the psychoeducation classes, particularly the release and reintegration curriculum, it may be that during class, our members are teaching different topics in the book, but then they are also going a step further in working one-on-one with individuals and helping to connect them to the resources that are needed based on their plans and their goals that they have. So for instance, it may be that I'm going to be released, and during class today, we talked about the importance of medical and mental health. Well, I don't have health insurance, and I don't know about any resources in the community that could help me with my mental health. So it may be that that member is working with that individual to identify a community-based mental health provider that they could then transition to upon release. Or it may be that they have a plan that they want to get, they want their own housing upon release. And while that's a good thing, it may be that we have to sit down and really look at their situation and walk them through the process of getting housed and identify goals that they need to meet in order to do that. and then connect them with whomever is a part of that plan in the community. So it's a lot of teaching the class, but we don't want to just teach information and just give information in class. We need to take it the next step and start connecting them to resources. So there's the opportunity to do some one-on-one individual work with individuals based off of their needs. In addition to that, our members also do 3 civic engagements during their service terms. So that means they go out, and it may be that we all go out together or they go out on their own, but they go out in the community and do a community service project outside of prison. And those we try to keep them geared towards what's happening in the community for people who are being released from prison. So that our members have the ability to learn about what's in the community, so that they can come back and talk about that in the classes that they teach. Or it may be that it's not connected, but we're doing a service event in the community. And then we have special projects. So every service term is different. It really just depends on what's happening. But special projects may come up. So for instance, our last group that just completed their service term, they did lunch and learn because they have been conducting research on different aspects of corrections. And so they were able to take what they learned in their research and create presentations, and they presented back to our staff and taught them about, a whole host of things that's happening in other states, that's happening in Arizona, and educating our staff so that they were aware on different resources and programs and opportunities that exist in the community for inmates and offenders. So special projects, every term is different, just really depends on what's going on, but they do come up. Jennifer. Okay, so what kind of applicants are we seeking? I often get this question, what kind of background do most people have that come into the Department of Corrections and serve as AmeriCorps members? Usually what we find is individuals with an interest in education, social work, case management, law enforcement, criminal justice, drug and alcohol counseling, psychology, sociology, and business. These are most of the backgrounds that find this service to be really impactful because it goes along with something that they're learning. Now, does that mean that you should not apply if you don't have this background? No. If you have an interest in corrections and reentry, and you feel like this is something that you can do, by all means, please apply. I just put this here because a lot of times people want to know, what is this ideal for? So those backgrounds usually find this to be a really good opportunity. So what makes someone a good match for these positions? I will say that this environment is a lot different than probably any other AmeriCorps program that you will find. So it can be a challenge. And so the very first thing there is the ability to adjust to changes quickly. Our world changes. It could be by the minute, it could be by the hour, it could be by the day. You may think that you have the best plan for the week, and it could all be put to the side because something else is happening. And then you have to be able to adjust your plans and be able to jump back in and still accomplish your goals within the time frame that's set. There are many things that impact all of our work, and we have no control over it. So it could be that, yeah, today I did plan to teach a class and I have my lesson plan out, I'm ready to go. But the whole yard is locked down, so I won't see anybody today. I have to be able to adjust my schedule, still get that material completed in a different time frame. And sometimes it may be that at one point, I think this is the way that it's gonna go, and then I may be told this is gonna change. So you have to be able to adjust very quickly to whatever is happening. And so if you find that you struggle with that, that is something to definitely take into consideration if you decide that this is an opportunity that you want to pursue. We're looking for individuals with the ability to work with inmates and offenders and follow policies and procedures. Corrections is very policy and procedure driven. Not following policies and procedures could actually lend to some sticky situations. We do have to follow AmeriCorps rules and regulations, but then there's also corrections rules and regulations. And what that means is you could find yourself in some legal trouble personally if you're not following policies and procedures. And so we work very hard to make sure that we're all following the policies and procedures. But if you find yourself to be someone who tends to be a rule breaker and doesn't really like to listen to feedback or constructive criticism, and you kind of want to do things your own way, it could lead to problems later on. So it's just really important that we are cognizant of that, and we have to maintain a very professional environment. So that's really important. Also, the ability to teach others. So are you good at learning information or taking what you know and then being able to present it to people? We're not seeking people that are degree teachers, but do you have the knack for teaching? Can you take information and present it, either in a one-on-one basis or to groups? We're looking for folks who enjoy learning new things and teaching others, individuals that have a desire to serve the community, individuals that understand that even though somebody's in prison, they are humans and they have the ability to change. One thing to keep in mind is, yes, we do serve in prisons and we work in prisons, but we are not here to punish anyone. The punishment is that they're in prison. So we are working on helping them to change, not to punish them. And so that's really, really important. We're looking for folks who want to be a part of providing inmates and offenders with information and tools that they need to reintegrate back into the community. And then individuals who have a knack for working with people that are facing difficult challenges. There are times when you may have a group of inmates and everybody is very pleasant and it's really good. But then it may be that something has changed for them. And they may not be having a good day and they may not want to learn what you're trying to teach. And they're adults, so that could be a little bit of a challenge. But just being able to work with people that are facing challenging times is really, really important, and understanding how to follow the rules and procedures, but then also understanding that we're working with humans who are going through different challenges. It's a balance there. So where are our locations? We actually have the ability to place members in all 10 of our prisons. We are the state prison complex system. So there are 10 locations. And what you see here, it says on hold right now due to COVID-19. Very much like what Jennifer explained, we are not placing members in the prisons right now, but we are seeking to recruit and place members in September. COVID has really changed the way that we operate right now, but we are looking to be able to place members in September. And then we have 2 reentry centers. One is the Maricopa Reentry Center, and that is in North Phoenix, and then the Pima Reentry Center, which is in Tucson. As I stated earlier, in the reentry centers, the members only teach psychoeducation. In the prisons, they do core subjects in our education department, where they may be teaching psychosocial classes in different yards, integrating into other programming that we already have happening. Now, what you will notice as you look through these locations, some of them are in very rural areas. So I always tell people when they look at this opportunity, please make sure that you review your transportation and determine if you would be able to make it to and from that location every day that you need to serve. We do not have the ability to offer any form of transportation or any form of transportation stipends or assistance that way. So it's really important to look at where you live, the amount of time that you would have to drive, and having transportation to and from those locations, because some of them are not on a bus stop. So what does our service opportunity look like? The commitment. Initially, all members, anyone selected to be a member has to participate in a 5-day pre-service orientation. And this is critical because if you cannot do this piece, we wouldn't move forward at that time with bringing you on. And the reason for that is because during this training, we go through quite a bit. It's a jam-packed week. We go through what it is to be an AmeriCorps member, rules for AmeriCorps, and then we also go over the Department of Corrections, and with that, how to serve in a prison, how to be in a prison. We're going how to interact with inmates, how to teach the curriculum, self-defense, spray. So there's a lot that happens during that week. Without participating in that, we can't put you into a prison or place you in a prison or a reentry center. So that week is really important. But after that week is completed, then the members start 3 weekdays per week with an average of 21 hours per week. So usually they're on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday schedule. They come in about 9 and you're usually done about 3:34. But we can adjust that depending on the needs of the members. But it has to be 3 weekdays per week. As I said earlier, we do civic engagement. So that may happen during the member service, regular service hours, or it may be that we get together on a Saturday morning, but those do come up. For our program, the living allowance, we are a 450-hour program, which means we're quarter time. And the schedule that's been presented allows our members to complete their hours without any issues. The living allowance for us is $3,440. That is divided up equally and deposited, direct deposited into the member's account every other Thursday. And as Jennifer spoke about the education award is pretty much the same depending on the, across programs, depending on the type of member you are. So that's pretty standard. Some other benefits, you have the opportunity for student loan deferment during your service term. We provide quite a bit of training and members are able to pick up different skills. So that's something that we try to focus on quite a bit during their service term. Potential career opportunities, and I'll let Caitlin talk a little bit about that when she presents. Serving your community and giving back. And then for our program, we do work with universities and members who want to use this as their internship. Particularly if you're in a criminal justice program, we work with pretty much all of the universities and colleges that have a criminal justice program, and pretty much all of them are unpaid. So this, as the internship, allows the member to, one, get a really good experience that they may not get anywhere else, and then two, be able to serve and get your education award. Get your education award, but then also get your living allowance, which allows for some form of payment that you may not have received with an unpaid internship. So we will work with members to be able to use this for their internship. So basic eligibility. I know earlier Emily spoke about members being 17 or older. For our program, you have to be 18 years of age or older. You have to have a high school diploma or a GED and some college. So that is a little bit different than other programs may require. You must be a U.S. citizen, U.S. national or legal permanent resident alien of the United States, and have the ability to commit to the described term of service. So what that means is, if you're thinking, well, I just want to serve 2 months and I don't really want to do this over 6 months, that is a lot different than what's being presented. So we would not be able to move forward with that. You would have to commit to the service term as it's spelled out. The reason for that we're a little bit more stringent is because, again, as I said, members have to serve in a team, and our members don't have the ability to come and go in and out of prisons like they would other programs. So we are very diligent about making sure that when a member hits our building, we are monitoring them coming in and when they leave. And so our staff, our security team, everybody is paying attention. So it's a little bit different than some programs where you can kind of come in and go as you need to. So you have to be able to commit to what you sign up for. You also have to have a desire to serve in a prison environment and teach inmates and or teach virtually from one of our facilities. And so what that means is, in a traditional sense, minus COVID, our members serve in the prisons, or they serve in the reentry centers. They show up to our facilities every day that they're supposed to serve. But you have to have the desire to want to be in that environment. Right now with COVID, our members have actually been teaching virtually. They are at our reentry centers, but they're teaching classes back virtually into the prisons. But again, they're still coming into the reentry center. We do not have the ability to do virtual teaching from your bedroom or from your home. We need our members to be in the facilities, and there's reasons for that, and there's a lot of laws around that. So you have to have the desire to be in a facility. And then lastly, you would have to be able to pass multiple background checks, including drug and alcohol testing. We have the background checks that we do for AmeriCorps, but then in addition to that, we are also by law required to conduct other background checks through corrections and through the FBI, and then also the drug and alcohol testing. So our members the application process can be a bit lengthy because we are behind the scenes doing quite a bit of investigating. And at the bottom there, it says the ADCRR is a drug-free workplace and safety sensitive. That safety sensitive is really, really important. And I bring this up because I often have people who apply and they may be really great candidates on paper, but I know that, and we know that marijuana in particular has been made legal both on the recreational and the medical side. But we are a safety sensitive environment, and that means that everybody has to be on high alert at all times. So we do not go with the fact that it's legal recreationally or medical marijuana. But what that means is if you were to go and do a drug and alcohol test, if there's anything in your system, we would have to turn your application down. In addition to that, we do have the ability to do random drug and alcohol testing at any given time that a member is serving. So members are a part of that process, just like our staff. Again, this is a prison environment, and we all have to be performing at our highest level. So safety sensitive is really, really important. So our application process is a two-step process. Jennifer did talk about applying on the AmeriCorps website, and that is really important, creating your profile. But for our process, there's two steps. The first step is that you would need to apply on the azstatejobs.gov website. As you can see here, the positions will be posted in mid-May. If you go to this page and you go to the search box, it's kind of small, but down at the bottom, and you put in the word AmeriCorps and click search, it will bring up the position. And at that point, you would submit your resume and create your profile. The next part would be applying at My AmeriCorps. For us, you have to apply on both sites. If you apply on one and you don't apply on the other, I cannot move forward. So that's really, really important. If you're interested, please be sure to apply at both sites. On the My AmeriCorps website, the best way to find us, in the box where it says state, you would put in Arizona. Program name would be Arizona Department of Corrections, and it'll bring up any positions that we have posted. The only thing that I would mention, Jennifer spoke about when you create your profile. If you had a profile in the past for AmeriCorps, you want to make sure that you always update it with the most current information. So if you're going to pull your profile and you want to just start firing off your application, please make sure that you update it before you do that. So that way we have the most recent information. So for us, application deadlines, for members that are going to serve from September 2021 through February 2022, the application should be up around May 17th. and it will close out by July 16th. For members who are looking, or for individuals that are looking to start March 2022 through August 2022, the application will go up in December and it will close out by January 14th. Again, it takes quite a few weeks for us to onboard people. So if you're looking to apply, you want to make sure that you apply early because the process can be a bit lengthy. Okay, so in this picture, you can see some of our past members at their sites, and as you can see, everybody's smiling. Where, you know, a lot of people watch TV and they think, well, this is going to be like Orange is the New Black, or, you know, some kind of shanking, horrific nightmare. It is not that. Now, do we have situations that occurred? Yes, we're not perfect, but for the most part, our members find that their experience is pretty positive. So I just want to kind of turn it over for just a second. As I stated, we have one of our members, Caitlin, and she's going to share a little bit about her experience so you can hear it from one of our past members.
Hello. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you.
So I ended my term last February, so it's been a full year now. This program was really beneficial to me. It actually just helped me get a job I've been waiting for a while. But overall, I started the program because it's really a unique opportunity. It's the only program I've ever seen volunteer-wise where you can actually work directly with the inmates and be in there for an extended amount of time. You're there for 6 months, so you have an opportunity to build relationships with the teachers, with the TAs, with the students. And I was so excited to use my criminal justice degree because I didn't want to be a police officer or anything like that. I wanted to work with inmates on reentry, life skills, those sort of things. And this is the only opportunity that to this day I think I've ever seen quite like this. And I think at first I was a little nervous about how accepting the students would be of me being young, this being a new program. But they were really receptive and a lot more driven and supportive of each other and of me than I would have ever expected. And it was really cool to watch their growth week by week and knowing that I was helping with that and getting to see them pass their classes and do well on tests and get to know that they get to go home then the very next day because they passed their test. It was a lot of really positive moments, a lot more positive than any negative. And yeah, I think one takeaway from my experience is that anyone can be successful, anyone can learn. You're never too old, you're never too far gone. And a lot of my students were way more willing to learn than I would have anticipated, both in their subjects as well as life skills. We tried to bring in life skills into stuff too, and they were so excited to hear about new things because a lot of them, you know, their education systems before kind of failed them, and having that extra attention, they were really appreciative for it. And overall, it was a really positive experience.
Can we ask a question?
Yeah, go right ahead, Katie.
Okay. Caitlin, what location did you work at?
Oh, I worked at Perryville, so I was in the women's prison.
Okay. Because Raven, you listed a couple different ones. Is there the same amount of openings at, say, Buckeye, Perryville, as well as your reentry centers, or do you only have openings at certain places?
So I have the ability to recruit for all of our prisons and all of our reentry centers. The way that we determine where a member is placed is one based on what the member wants to do. So it may be that, you know, I want to do more psychoeducation. I'm not really too keen on doing court and math and social studies and basic education classes. So I just want to do more psychoeducation. And I live closer to a reentry center, and there's a need there. So it may be that a member is placed at a reentry center based off of those factors. So when we look at it, we're looking at a couple of different things. The distance, because again, some of our prisons are really, really far from general for people. So the drive can be pretty lengthy. So we look at location, we look at what the member needs and wants to do, and then what we have available and what our needs are for programming. And that's kind of how we figure that out.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. So Caitlin, what kind of job did you get?
I just got hired by DES to work in the Second Chance Center at Perryville. So it's an 8-week program. It's a specific yard where inmates elect to work on life skills, take classes on employment, and basically I'll be running classes about those life skills, how to find jobs, and trying to set them up with employment so they have something secure before they even are released. So that'll be the main job, kind of teaching, but also managing their cases for employment.
So we have a really strong partnership with the Department of Economic Security. They come in and they work. There are only 3 yards right now that have second chance centers. And so DES comes in and they do a lot of the workforce development side of things. So it may be that I start off on 1 yard and I apply to be in the second chance program and I get moved to that yard. So all of my my programming and what I do is all now linked to second chance. And therefore we have employers that come in, job fairs happen regularly, and DES actually does more in-depth one-on-one work with them to connect them to employment so that by the time they're leaving, if they've been through the second chance program, 9 times out of 10, they have a job. They may even have a certification, or they may have been able to, we have some like truck driving school. Right now they're teaching coding in one of the second chance centers. There are all kinds of things, home building programs, like there's a lot that's happening. So it's almost a privilege to get into a second chance program. So it's really good that Caitlin will be coming back with DES to continue to do what she likes to do, but do a deeper dive on that. Thank you, Caitlin.
That's great news, Caitlin. Congratulations on your new position.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, of course.
Let's see, we've got about 20 minutes left. Katie, would you be interested in hearing about the PACS program? It is the Maricopa Superior Court Law Resource Center program.
Well, sure. Am I the only person left?
You are the only attendee left, yes.
No, I'm not going to make you do that all just for me. I'm sorry. I didn't know anyone else. I thought other people were still on.
No, well, I'm not a representative of that program, so it would be a very quick synopsis of what they do.
Okay, we'll do something brief for the recording, and then I'll let you go.
Yeah, very brief. So the PACS program, again, is the Maricopa Superior Court Law Library Program, and PACS stands for Providing Access to Court Services. And the program is located just here in Maricopa County, and there are 3 resource centers, and they call them libraries, I believe. And it's basically a public access to legal resources. So folks who cannot afford attorneys and need access to court paperwork, protective services, filing paperwork. The libraries assist with the public and getting access to what they need in regards to those realms. So if you think of the one downtown, it's a really great center. What happens is folks from the public who need the help or the assistance come into the library, and AmeriCorps members are basically right there dealing with customer service needs. So it is a very direct service type of AmeriCorps position. I think I mentioned this maybe in the morning session, but we have members who cross-pollinate our programs. So Raven might have a member serve in her program one term. They might come and serve a term in my program, and then they might go and serve in the PACS program. Because we're the only criminal justice focused programs in the state, folks can really get a wide variety of experiences through the different programs, and they're all very distinct and individual and great experiences. But most of the time, they'll have students who are interested in going into being lawyers. And so this is a really good way to get experience to put on their resume or applications for law school. But it is a very direct service type of position. And I believe that their sites are closed right now, if I remember correctly from what Lisa said this morning. But generally speaking, they'll probably be recruiting again for the fall. And they have designed their service terms. I believe she said their service terms are 675 hours for 6 or 8 months. Don't quote me on that, but if you do have some questions, we can, get those answered if you have more specifics. But I believe that their position is on the AmeriCorps, My AmeriCorps portal, so you can take a look at that if you're interested in it. And they also have a website. So all of that information will be shared with you after the session, at least the contact information of everybody who's been here, including someone from the PACS program. So that was my brief synopsis. Yep.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure, of course. And Katie, did you have any other questions we can answer?
No, I think this was really thorough and I appreciated it. I had reached out to Raven earlier a week ago and she let me know this overview was coming. So it was really helpful. Thank you.
Great. Well, we're glad that you could join us today. We're really happy that, we have folks that are interested in our programs. It's a very specified area. So we have a very succinct group audience. So I'm glad you could join us.
Okay. Thank you again. Good
You're
night.
welcome. Good night. All right, Raven, I'm going to stop recording.